Welcome to 20 Questions. With us today is Daniel Luria, the Executive Director of Ateret Kohanim, a Jerusalem reclamation project, an NGO which focuses on re-establishing Jewish life in and around the Old City by building educational institutions. Thank you for being with us, Daniel.
Shalom.
In the case of Sheikh Jarrah, if Jews that were kicked out of their homes during the Independence War are allowed to return and evict Arabs who have been living in those homes for decades, then shouldn't Palestinians who left their homes in the same war be given those rights to return? And if not, isn't Israel displaying some sort of prejudice?
A Jew that is kicked out of their home because of pogroms and riots that persisted through the 20s and the 30s cannot be called the same as an Arab who leaves his home at his own whim, at the behest and the request of the Arab leaders, thinking that as a result of a war thrown on the Jewish people, they would not only be able to get their own home back, but they'll get double. There's a war, there's a winner, there's a loser, and yes, there may be two sets of refugees, but there's definitely no moral equivalent between the two. In this case, in the Sheikh Jarrah, from what I understand, the Arabs didn't even recognize the Jewish title, the ownership. The courts ultimately ruled that they could no longer stay there. We have a court system here, there's democracy, and in any court system, all the way to the Supreme Court it went. I'm not quite sure how anyone, definitely not the left wing, who at some point they call for the courts, they use the courts, when it doesn't suit them, suddenly the courts are no good.
What is the current legal status of Bet Yehonatan, and was the building built illegally?
This particular building was built by an Arab, and like 99% of the Arabs in the area, he didn't get any building approvals for the building. There are 659 building structures in that one area known as the Old Yemenite Village, or I think the Arabs called it Silwan. 659 building structures, and there are 7 building permits on file at the municipality. So when people talk about rampant illegal Arab building, it's very real. This particular building had question marks over its initial building. Since then it's been trying to be koshered by the various authorities or Jewish concerns. And unfortunately, there was a left-wing legal advisor of the municipality who was ultimately thrown out or left. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, but he's no longer the municipality, who took it on for some strange reason as a crusade just to get the Jews thrown out of this one building. Put aside all the illegal Arab building, put aside the hundreds of court orders to demolish or to evict Arabs from homes, including the old Beit Knesset. There's a Beit Knesset that the Arabs today are using as a dining room and as a toilet, an old Beit Knesset, the Yemenites. And he decides to go after this one particular building. So went all the way to the Supreme Court, and there is a court order outstanding that the building has to be sealed. In the meantime, it's trying to kosher it, from what I understand.
Can you describe your vision for a Jewish resettlement of East Jerusalem?
Or reclaim. First of all, East Jerusalem doesn't exist anymore. In my vocabulary, words are everything. There is no East Jerusalem today. We have to call a spade a spade. There are today 210,000 Jews living in what the world called East Jerusalem. It was a backwater town under Jordan. Ramat Eshkol, French Hill, Neve Yaakov, Pisgat Zev, all the way down to Har Choma. All these are neighborhoods in East Jerusalem. There is no such concept today as Arab East Jerusalem. We're basically churning water to believe that you can divide Jerusalem. It can't happen. I don't believe it will happen, and like I said, and not even left-wing extremists like Yossi Beilin really believes that a single Jew is going to be taken out of Ramot. I do hope and believe that there'll be a lot more Jews living in the heart of Jerusalem, which is the old city and the area around. In that particular area, there's not a ton of Jews. I mean, in the old city today, there's only 4,000 Jews out of 33,000 residents. The Zionist dream is not over. I know people talk about the post-Zionist era. In my thinking, it's not over. We're part of an ever-unfolding redemption process, and we haven't reached there yet. Now, God, He's going to look after, so it seems, the temple. But the physical redemption, the revival of Jewish life, the Zionist dream is still unfolding before our very eyes, and there will be greater Jewish life, whether it be with Ateret Kohanim help or without, but it's going to happen.
Would you welcome East Jerusalem Arabs into West Jerusalem or into Greater Israel?
So today there are Arabs living anyway in the Galil. There are Arabs living in Jerusalem. Arabs are in fact even moving into neighborhoods of Jerusalem, like French Hill, Ramat Eshkol, Neve Yaakov. They're moving into the neighborhoods. Okay. So long as they want to live side by side in a unified Jewish capital, in the state of Israel, why not? There's no reason. What I do object to is the world having the arrogance and even the hypocrisy and the gall to say the Jews have no right to move into certain neighbourhoods. I cannot fathom, I cannot believe any president of any world, anywhere in the world, saying the Jews have no right to move in. How can you have a black president of our greatest ally and friend simply saying that he objects to Jews moving to certain neighbourhoods? Blacks not allowed into certain neighbourhoods? Unheard of. Arabs can move into certain neighbourhoods? Jews should be allowed to move into certain neighbourhoods.
In your opinion, is it possible for Israel to be A, a Jewish country, B, a democratic state with equal rights for all its citizens, and C, keep all the land from Jordan up until the Mediterranean? And if not, which one has to give?
One thing is for certain, though, from where I'm coming from. First and foremost is the Jewish state for Jewish people. And I don't have to shoot myself in the foot or make concessions in order to create some type of beautiful utopia, to create another America. I don't want to create another America or Australia here in Israel. This is the Jewish state for Jewish people. If someone wants to live under those circumstances here, then fine. But that means the land of Israel that was given to the Jewish people by God, and that we have roots here that date back 3,500 years. We're not just another ultra-imperialist like the British or the Turks that came and conquered and then left and became nothing in just a line in history books. We are the original owners who have come back home.
In your opinion, do the Palestinians have a claim to any parts of East Jerusalem or any holy sites?
Not a thing. They have no rights, and they can't claim any sovereignty whatsoever over anything in Jerusalem. I mean, aside from the fact that there is no such concept of the Palestinian people, the fact that we have created, or Oslo created, or the Israeli governments have created this concept called Palestinian nation is a relatively new concept. That doesn't mean they don't have rights to pray in their mosques. That's something separate. But to talk about roots or national rights or sovereign rights here, that's just absurd. First of all, Palestinians, Palestine is a region, an area, defined actually by the world as the Jewish homeland in 1917 and ratified in 1921. The fact that the world decided to break off part of the Jewish homeland, Great Jordan, doesn't mean that we have to break off even more parts of Palestine.
What is the future of the conflict with the Palestinians and the Israelis? Do you see any way of resolving it?
It's not going to be easy to solve. One thing is for certain, though, shooting ourselves in the feet even more by offering even more land and giving greater freedom of movement or greater freedom to bring in more weapons is just making our own situation even worse. Land for peace doesn't work. We cannot possibly create another state on the back doorstep of the State of Israel. It cannot be.